Sarah McAllister's hand trembled as she signed the paper that would give her children to strangers. The pen scratched across the line, halfway through her name, when a man's voice cut through the silence. "Ma'am, you don't want to finish that." She looked up. A stranger stood in the doorway, dust on his boots, a badge scar on his chest where something used to hang. "You don't know what I want," she whispered. "No, ma'am. But I know what those children need, and it ain't this." Before we begin this journey, hit that subscribe button right now. Stay with me until the very end because what happens next will restore your faith in second chances. Comment below with your city. I want to see how far this tale of survival and love travels across America. Now let me take you back to the summer of 1878, when Mercy rode into Texas on a tired horse. The drought had been killing Sarah McAllister slowly for 93 days. But today, she would finish the job herself. She stood at the kitchen table, staring at the document Mrs. Pemberton had brought from San Antonio. The words blurred through her tears. Voluntary surrender of minor children to the Texas Children's Aid Society. William sat in the corner, 10 years old, watching her with eyes that had aged 30 years in 8 months. Lucy hummed beside him, 6 years old, braiding a corn-husk doll's hair like nothing was wrong. Lucy didn't understand. William did. That was worse. "Mama," William's voice cracked, "you don't have to do this." "Yes, baby, I do." "Papa wouldn't want—" "Papa's dead." The words came out sharper than she intended. Sarah closed her eyes, forced her voice steady. "Papa's been dead 8 months, and I've tried everything. Everything, William. The bank won't wait anymore. The well's dry. The cattle are dead. We got nothing left." "We got each other." Sarah's heart cracked down the middle. "That's not enough to live on, sweetheart. Love don't fill empty bellies. Love don't bring water from a dry well. Love don't stop the bank from taking this land in 30 days. William stood up slowly. He walked to her, took her hand. His fingers were rough already, calloused from trying to do a man's work in a boy's body. "Then we leave. We go somewhere else. Together." "Where? With what money? On whose charity?" "I don't care. I'll work. I'm strong. I can—" "You're 10 years old!" Sarah's voice broke completely. "You should be fishing and climbing trees and being a child. Instead, you're trying to carry your father's load because I can't carry it alone. That ain't fair to you. That ain't no kind of life." Mrs. Pemberton had explained it so reasonably. The orphan trains took children to good homes, farming families in the Midwest who needed help and could provide food, shelter, education. William was strong and smart. He'd be placed quickly. Lucy was pretty and sweet. Families loved little girls like her. They'd be separated, probably. Different families, different states. But they'd be alive, fed, safe. That's what mattered. That's what Sarah kept telling herself. "The families that take you," she said slowly, "they'll have food, real food, every day. They'll have water and warm beds and schools. You'll grow up proper, have chances I can't give you." "I don't want chances," William's voice hardened. "I want you." Lucy looked up from her doll. "Where are we going, Mama?" Sarah couldn't answer. Her throat had closed completely. "Nowhere, Lucy." William pulled his sister close. "We ain't going nowhere." "William." "No." For the first time, her son looked at her with something like anger. "You promised, Papa. You promised you'd keep us together no matter what. He made you swear it. I heard you. The night before he died, I heard you promise." The memory hit Sarah like a fist. James, fever-bright and barely conscious, gripping her hand with fingers that had lost their strength. Don't let them separate, Sarah. Promise me, whatever happens, keep them together. They're all that matters. Promise me. I promise, she'd whispered. I promise, James. I swear. She'd meant it. God above, she'd meant it with every piece of her heart. But promises didn't stop droughts. Promises didn't pay banks. Promises didn't feed children who were already too thin, whose clothes hung loose, whose eyes had grown too big for their faces. Sometimes, Sarah said quietly, keeping a promise means breaking it. Sometimes love means letting go. That ain't love. That's giving up. William. A knock at the door. Sarah tensed. The bank man wasn't due for another week. Mrs. Pemberton had already left. Who else would come this far out, this late in the day? Stay here. She moved toward the door, her hand instinctively reaching for the shotgun James had kept by the entrance. She hadn't fired it in months, couldn't afford the ammunition, but the weight of it felt right in her hands. She opened the door. A man stood on her porch, tall, lean, weathered by sun and hard years. He wore trail clothes, dust-covered, with a hat pulled low against the evening glare. A horse stood behind him, ribs showing through its coat. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, steady, carrying something she recognized. Loss. Deep and old and heavy. The eyes of someone who'd buried pieces of himself and kept walking anyway. Ma'am. He touched his hat brim. Name's Nathaniel Garrett. I don't mean to intrude. I saw the smoke from your chimney. Wondered if you might have water to spare. My horse is struggling. Sarah studied him. No gun belt visible, though that didn't mean much. His hands were rough but clean. His voice was quiet, respectful. Well's dry, she said flatly. Has been for 3 weeks. Something flickered in his eyes. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll move on then. Didn't mean to trouble you. He turned to go. Wait. Sarah didn't know why she said it. Couldn't explain the impulse that made her lower the shotgun, that made her step onto the porch. There's a creek about 2 miles east. Might still have something. It was running weak last I checked, but it's better than nothing. Much obliged, ma'am. He still didn't move, just stood there, looking at her with those 2 seeing eyes. You in some kind of trouble? He asked quietly. What makes you think that? Shotgun. Way you're holding yourself, and... He paused. And I heard the boy, through the door, something about promises and giving up. Sarah's jaw tightened. That ain't none of your business, mister. No, ma'am, it ain't. He touched his hat again. I'll be on my way. Thank you for the direction. He turned, took 2 steps toward his horse. We're fine, Sarah called after him, defensive, angry. Whatever you think you heard, we're fine. I'm handling it. He stopped, turned back. His expression was unreadable. Didn't say you weren't, ma'am. Just asked if you were in trouble. Those are different things. Are they? Yes, ma'am. A person can be handling something and still be in trouble. Handling just means you ain't quit yet. Don't mean the weight ain't crushing you. Sarah's grip tightened on the shotgun. You a preacher or something? No, ma'am. I was a Texas Ranger. Before. Before what? He was quiet for a long moment. Before I lost everything that mattered. Before I learned that some weights don't get lighter no matter how strong you are. The words hung between them. Sarah thought about the document on her kitchen table, about William's accusation, about the promise she'd made to a dying man and was about to break. The boy, she said slowly. What exactly did you hear? Enough to know you're thinking about giving up your children. Enough to know your son is fighting you on it. Enough to know you're carrying something heavier than any woman should carry alone. You don't know anything about me. No, ma'am, but I know about desperation. I know about making choices that feel like dying. And I know about running out of options until the only ones left are the ones that'll break you. Lucy appeared in the doorway, clutching her corn-husk doll. She looked up at the stranger with curious eyes. "Are you a cowboy?" The man's hard face softened slightly. "I have been, little miss, among other things." "Do you have a horse?" "I do. Her name's Rosie." "Can I see her?" "Lucy," Sarah started. "It's all right, ma'am, if you permit it." He looked at Sarah, waiting for her decision. Something about his stillness, his patience, his willingness to wait for permission. It cracked something in Sarah's defensive walls. "Fine, but stay where I can see you." Lucy bounced down the porch steps. The man, Garrett, walked her slowly toward his horse, keeping his movements gentle, non-threatening. He lifted her up to pat Rosie's neck, and Lucy's giggle drifted back through the evening air. William appeared beside Sarah. "Who is he?" "Says his name is Garrett. Used to be a ranger." "You believe him?" "I don't know yet." They watched as Garrett set Lucy down, said something that made her laugh again. He looked up, caught Sarah's eye, nodded once. "He's good with her," William said reluctantly. "Gentle. Lots of dangerous men are gentle with children. Don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing bad, either." Sarah looked at her son, 10 years old, trying so hard to be the man of the house, watching a stranger with suspicion and something else, something that looked almost like hope. "Go inside," she said. "Start the corn mush for supper." "There ain't much left." "I know. Just start it." William hesitated, then obeyed. Sarah walked down the porch steps as Garrett returned with Lucy. "Your daughter's a charmer, ma'am." "She gets that from her father." Sarah's voice was flat. "He could charm the rattle off a snake. Lot of good it did him." "He passed?" 8 months ago. Fever took him. Took half the town near enough. Bank was real sympathetic until about 2 months ago. Now they're real interested in their money." "They're foreclosing?" 30 days, maybe less if they get impatient. Garrett was quiet, processing. "And the children?" Sarah's composure cracked. "A woman came today, from the Children's Aid Society. They take children to families up north. Good families, she says. Families with food and water and futures. And you're considering it." "I signed half my name on the paper before you knocked." Sarah's voice broke. "I got halfway through Sarah, and my hand just stopped. Like my body refused to finish what my mind already decided." "Maybe your body's smarter than your mind." "Maybe my body don't have to watch them starve." Lucy tugged at Sarah's dress. "Mama, I'm hungry." The words hit like bullets. Sarah's eyes burned. She wouldn't cry. Not in front of a stranger, not in front of her children. "Go inside, baby. William's making supper." "Is it corn mush again?" "Yes." Lucy's face fell, but she nodded and trudged inside. Garrett watched her go, his expression carefully neutral. When did they last eat proper? Meat, vegetables, something substantial. "I don't recall. 3 weeks? 4? There was a rabbit William trapped, but that was—" She couldn't finish. Garrett reached into his saddlebag, pulled out a package wrapped in cloth. "I got dried beef and some hardtack. It ain't much, but it's something." Sarah stiffened. "I don't take charity." "It ain't charity. It's an offer between travelers. I eat at your table tonight, share what I got, and in the morning I move on. That's just hospitality." "Hospitality requires having something to offer." "You got a roof, don't you? A table? That's more than I've had some nights. Sarah's pride warred with her mother's heart. The mother won. "One night," she said tightly.
"You sleep in the barn. You're gone by sunrise." Fair enough. They ate together, the four of them around the small kitchen table. Garrett's dried beef and hardtack weren't much, but added to the thin corn mush, it made something closer to a real meal than the children had seen in weeks. Lucy ate with enthusiasm, chattering at Garrett about her doll, about the chickens that had died last month, about how William tried to dig a new well, but only got 10 feet down before the ground got too hard. William ate silently, watching Garrett with wary eyes. Sarah barely ate at all. Every bite felt like failure, like accepting help she couldn't repay. "So, Mr. Garrett," William's voice was challenging, "if you were a ranger, how come you ain't anymore?" "William," Sarah started. "It's all right, ma'am." Garrett set down his spoon. "Fair question. A man shows up at your door, claims to be something. He should be able to explain why he ain't that thing anymore." He looked at William directly, man to man. "I quit 2 years ago, after my wife and daughter were killed." The table went silent. "What happened?" William asked, softer now. "Comanche raid. I was 20 miles away, chasing rustlers. By the time I got back..." He stopped, swallowed. There wasn't nothing to get back to. Lucy's eyes were wide. "That's so sad." "It was, little miss. It is." Garrett's voice stayed steady, but something in his eyes went dark and deep. "I wasn't there to protect them. That's a weight I carry every day. Will carry till I die." "Is that why you quit?" William asked. "Partly. Mostly I quit because I couldn't look at another family and do my job proper. Every woman reminded me of my wife. Every little girl reminded me of Charlotte. I kept freezing up, getting distracted. Rangers can't afford distraction. People die when rangers get distracted." "So you've been, what, just wandering?" 2 years now. Taking odd jobs when I need money. Moving when I get restless. Trying to figure out if there's anything left worth living for. Sarah looked at him, really looked, and saw something she recognized. Herself. 6 months from now, if she survived that long. Wandering, broken, empty. "And?" she asked quietly. "Have you figured it out?" Garrett met her eyes. "I thought I hadn't, until about an hour ago." "What changed an hour ago?" "I heard a boy fighting for his family. Heard a mother breaking apart, trying to do right by her children. Heard something I ain't heard in 2 years." "What's that?" "A reason to stop walking." The words settled over the table like dust after a windstorm. Sarah stood abruptly, started clearing dishes. "You should get to the barn. It'll be dark soon." "Yes, ma'am." Garrett rose. "Thank you for the meal." He nodded to the children, touched his hat to Sarah, and walked out into the evening. After the door closed, William said, "I like him." "You don't know him." "I know he's honest. I know he shared his food when he didn't have to. I know he told the truth about his family when lying would have been easier. Honest men can still be dangerous. So can desperate women." William's voice was quiet. "You were really going to do it, weren't you? Sign that paper?" Sarah's hands stilled in the wash basin. "I was trying to save you. By giving us away? By breaking your promise to Papa? By making us orphans while you're still alive? William, you know what happens to kids on those trains? They get picked over like livestock. The strong boys go to farms to work like slaves. The pretty girls go to families who want servants, not daughters. The ones nobody wants get shipped further and further until they end up in institutions. That what you want for Lucy? For me? That's not..." Mrs. Pemberton said, "Mrs. Pemberton gets paid for every child she places."
You think she's going to tell you the bad parts? Sarah turned to face her son. Tears were streaming down her cheeks now. She couldn't stop them. Then what do I do, William? Tell me, because I have tried everything, sold everything, begged everyone, and we're still here, still starving, still 30 days from losing this land your father died for. So you tell me, what am I supposed to do? William crossed the room, wrapped his arms around her. I don't know, Mama, but we figure it out together. That's what Papa would want. That's what family means. Sarah held her son and cried. Cried for James, for the life they'd lost, for the future she couldn't see. In her arms, Lucy joined them, confused, but wanting to help. Don't cry, Mama. The cowboy will help us. I can tell. Baby, he's just passing through. He'll be gone tomorrow. No, he won't. Lucy's voice was certain. He's sad, like you. Sad people need families. We can be his family. It don't work that way, sweetheart. Why not? Sarah had no answer. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Sarah sat alone at the kitchen table. The surrender document lay in front of her, her half-finished signature staring up like an accusation. Sarah McCallie, 7 letters. That's how close she'd come to erasing her family. She picked up the pen. Her hand trembled. Finish it, the desperate part of her whispered. Finish it before you change your mind, before hope makes you stupid, before you watch them die slow. But her hand wouldn't move. A knock at the door. Soft, respectful. Sarah grabbed the shotgun, moved quietly to the entrance. It's Garrett, ma'am. I saw your lamp still burning. Wanted to check you were all right. She opened the door a crack. He stood in the moonlight, hat in his hands. I'm fine. No disrespect, ma'am, but you ain't fine. You're standing in a crossroads and both paths look like they lead to hell. And you know a better path? I might. He paused. Can I speak plain with you? No offense intended? You've been speaking plain all evening. Why stop now? A ghost of a smile crossed his weathered face. Fair point. He took a breath. I've been wandering for 2 years looking for a reason to stop. A reason to live instead of just exist. Tonight, sitting at that table with you and your children, I felt something I ain't felt since I lost my family. What's that? Purpose. Sarah's grip tightened on the doorframe. Mr. Garrett, hear me out, please. His voice was quiet but intense. You need help. Practical help. Someone to work this land, dig that well deeper, fix what's broken. You need money to pay that bank. You need someone to share the load. And you're offering? I got $600 saved. Money I've been carrying for 2 years with nothing to spend it on. It's enough to satisfy the bank for now. Buy you time. Sarah's heart stopped. Why would you do that? You don't know us. I know enough. I know that boy in there loves his mama fierce enough to fight her when she's wrong. I know that little girl sees good in strangers because she's been raised with love. I know you've been breaking yourself trying to keep them safe. That's enough to know. It's too much. I can't accept. It ain't charity, ma'am. It's an investment. I work your land, help you get back on your feet. If things work out, you pay me back when you can. If they don't, I've spent my money on something that mattered, instead of rot-gut whiskey and empty hotel rooms. And if I say no, then I ride out tomorrow, like I said, and I spend the rest of my life wondering what happened to the woman who almost signed away her children because nobody gave her another choice. Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, the shotgun hanging loose in her hands. $600. Enough to pay the bank, enough to buy seed, maybe some chickens. Enough to survive until the drought broke. If the drought broke. The drought might last another 3 months, she said. Another 6. What then? Then we face it together. Same as we'd face anything.
We. You keep saying we. There is no we. You're a stranger.
Strangers become friends. Friends become family. I've seen it happen.
In storybooks.
In real life. I was a stranger to my wife once. We became everything to each other. Then I lost her. And I thought that was it. Thought I was done with family forever. He paused. But standing here, looking at you, I think maybe life's giving me another chance. Maybe it's giving both of us another chance. Sarah thought about the document on her table, about William's accusations, about Lucy's innocent certainty that the cowboy would help them.
I need to think, she said.
Take all the time you need. I'll be in the barn. He put his hat back on, touched the brim. One more thing, ma'am.
What?
Whatever you decide, don't sign that paper. Those children need you.
Even if you can't see it right now, even if everything feels hopeless, they need their mother. Alive, present, fighting. That's worth more than any comfortable stranger's house. That's worth more than anything. He walked away into the darkness. Sarah closed the door, leaned against it, slid down until she was sitting on the floor. The shotgun lay across her lap. The surrender document waited on the table. And somewhere in the barn, a broken stranger was offering her something she'd stopped believing in. Hope. She sat there until the lamp burned low, until the moon moved across the sky, until the first gray light of dawn began to creep through the windows. Then she stood, walked to the table, and picked up the document. Sarah McCall. Her half-finished signature stared back at her. She thought about James, about the promise she'd made, about William's anger and Lucy's faith, and the stranger in her barn who'd lost everything and still found reasons to keep going. She thought about giving up, about how easy it would be, about how much it would cost. Then she tore the paper in half, and then in half again, and again, until nothing remained but scraps of surrender scattered across her kitchen floor. Whatever came next, she would face it standing up. Face it with her children beside her. Face it with whatever help she could find. Even if that help came from a broken Texas Ranger who'd wandered onto her porch looking for water and found something else entirely. Outside, the sun was rising. Another brutal Texas summer day. But for the first time in 93 days, Sarah McAllister felt something besides despair. She felt the stubborn, terrible, unquenchable fire of hope. Sarah was waiting on the porch when Garrett emerged from the barn at first light. He stopped when he saw her, took in the torn pieces of paper clutched in her fist, understood without asking. "You made a decision," he said. "I made a decision." Sarah's voice was steady, steadier than she felt. "But we need to talk terms, clear terms, no misunderstanding." "Yes, ma'am." "You work for me, not with me, for me. This is my land, my family, my rules. You sleep in the barn. You eat at my table because it's practical, not because we're friends. You don't touch my children without permission. You don't make decisions about this ranch without asking me first." Garrett nodded slowly. "Fair enough." "And the money." Sarah's pride burned in her throat. "It's a loan. I pay back every cent, with interest, soon as I'm able." "Whatever you say, ma'am." "I ain't finished." She stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "If you got any intentions beyond helping, any ideas about what this arrangement might become, you bury them right now. I buried my husband 8 months ago. I ain't looking for another one. Something flickered in Garrett's expression. Pain, maybe, or understanding. "I ain't looking for a wife, ma'am. I had one. Lost her. That hole don't fill." He paused. "I'm looking for purpose, that's all. A reason to wake up that don't involve counting the days till I can stop." Sarah studied him, searching for lies, finding none. "All right then," she said finally. "We got an understanding." "We do." She held out her hand. He took it. His grip was firm, but careful, like he was handling something that might break. "Welcome to the McAllister Ranch, Mr. Garrett." "Nate," he said. "If I'm working for you, might as well use my given name." "Sarah." They shook once and released. "First thing," Sarah said, "the well. William got 10 feet down before the ground turned to rock. We need to go deeper or find water somewhere else." "I'll take a look. Might need to blast through the rock if it ain't too thick." "We ain't got dynamite." "I know where to get some. Man in San Antonio owes me a favor."
You got a lot of favors owed?
A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Spent 15 years as a ranger, ma'am. Collected a few debts along the way." William appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He froze when he saw Garrett. "He's still here." "He's staying," Sarah said. "For a while. He's going to help with the ranch." William's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I asked him to." "No, I mean, why is he helping? What's he get out of it?" Garrett crouched down to William's level. "You want the truth, son?" "I ain't your son." "Fair enough." Garrett didn't flinch. "The truth is, I've been wandering for 2 years looking for something worth doing. Your mama needs help. I can provide it. That's enough reason for me." "And when you get bored? When the work gets hard and you decide to move on?" "William," Sarah started. "No, it's a fair question." Garrett's voice stayed level. "I ain't gonna lie to you, boy. I can't promise I'll stay forever. Can't see that far ahead. But I can promise that as long as I'm here, I'll work hard and do right by your family. If that ain't good enough, I understand. But it's the best I can offer." William stared at him for a long moment, weighing, judging. "Fine," he said finally. "But I'm watching you." "I'd expect nothing less." Lucy burst through the door, her face lighting up when she saw Garrett. "You stayed! I told Mama you would stay." "Morning, little miss." "Are you going to live here now? Are you going to be a cowboy on our ranch? Can I ride Rosie again?" "Lucy, give the man room to breathe," Sarah said. But Garrett was already smiling. A real smile, small but genuine. "Maybe later, little miss. Got work to do first." The first week was brutal. Garrett worked from sunup to sundown. He examined the well, confirmed William's assessment. Solid limestone about 12 feet down. Getting through it would require either dynamite or a month of chiseling. He rode to San Antonio on the second day, came back with blasting powder and a stern warning that one wrong move would collapse the whole shaft. Sarah watched him work. Watched how he explained things to William without condescension. Watched how he let Lucy help by carrying small tools. Watched how he moved through the world, careful, deliberate, like a man who'd learned that carelessness cost lives. On the fourth day, the blasting worked. Sarah heard the muffled boom from the house. Grabbed her shotgun, ran outside, heart hammering. Found Garrett covered in limestone dust, grinning like a boy. "Water," he said. "About 30 feet down. Spring-fed by the taste of it. Won't run dry." Sarah's knees went weak. She grabbed the well frame for support. "You're sure?" "Sure as I can be without divine confirmation." He wiped dust from his face. "Give it a day to settle. Then we can start bringing it up." Water. Real water. For the first time in 3 months, they would have real water. Sarah did something she hadn't done since James died. She laughed.
Garrett looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "Something funny, ma'am?"
No, nothing.
"Everything." She wiped her eyes, still laughing.
96 days. 96 days of watching everything die. And you show up, and 4 days later, there's water.
"Just lucky timing."
No such thing as lucky timing. There's just timing.
Sarah's laughter faded, but the warmth remained.
Thank you. I don't say that easily, but thank you.
"You're welcome, ma'am." That night, supper felt different, lighter. Lucy chattered about how she would water her garden now, bring back the tomatoes, grow flowers for Mama's table. William talked about getting new chickens, maybe even a milk cow if they could afford it. Even Sarah found herself planning, really planning, for the first time since James died. Garrett listened more than he spoke, but his eyes kept drifting to Sarah. Each time, she pretended not to notice. After the children were asleep, Sarah found him on the porch, staring at the stars.
You should be resting, she said. Tomorrow's the well lining. That's heavy work.
Couldn't sleep.
Bad dreams?
No dreams at all. That's worse sometimes. He shifted, making room on the step. You don't have to keep me company, ma'am. I know you got your rules. Sarah hesitated, then sat down, careful to keep distance between them.
Can I ask you something?
Anything.
Your wife, Charlotte. What was she like?
Garrett was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft, careful. She was fierce. Didn't take nonsense from anyone, including me. Especially me. A ghost of a smile. We met when I arrested her brother for horse theft. She came to the jail to give me hell. Told me her brother was innocent, that I'd arrested the wrong man, that if I didn't release him, she'd make my life miserable. Was he innocent? Turned out he was. The real thief confessed 2 days later. I released her brother, went to apologize, and she threw a bucket of water in my face. The smile grew. Asked her to dinner that same day. Took 3 weeks of asking before she said yes. And your daughter, Charlotte? Named after her mother. Same stubborn streak, same fire in her eyes. His voice cracked slightly. She was 4 when it happened. Same age as your Lucy. Sarah's heart twisted. I'm sorry. It was 2 years ago. Some days it feels like yesterday. Some days it feels like another life. He looked at her directly. That's what I see when I look at your children, ma'am. I see what I lost, and I see a chance to make sure someone else don't lose the same thing. Is that why you're really here? Because we remind you of them? Partly. He didn't look away. But also because the night I found you, I was thinking about ending things. Not dramatically, just stopping, letting myself fade. Then I heard your boy fighting for his family, and something woke up in me. Something I thought was dead. Sarah didn't know what to say, so she said nothing. They sat in silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. 2 broken people sharing a porch and a fragile, unnamed thing growing between them. The next morning, Judge Cornelius Webb rode onto the property. Sarah saw him coming from a 1/4 mile away. Knew that horse, a fancy gray mare that cost more than her whole ranch. Knew that posture, ramrod straight, chin lifted, like he owned everything his eyes touched. Nate. Garrett appeared beside her, wiping his hands on a rag. Who's that? Trouble. Webb dismounted with practiced ease. He was 60, silver-haired, dressed in city clothes that had no business on a Texas ranch. His smile never reached his eyes. Mrs. McAllister, I heard you had a visitor.
News travels fast. In small communities, news is all we have.
His gaze shifted to Garrett. Assessed, dismissed. I don't believe we've met. Nathaniel Garrett. Nate didn't offer his hand. And you are? Judge Cornelius Webb. I handle the legal affairs for most of Hill County, including, I'm afraid, the foreclosure proceedings on this property. Sarah's jaw tightened.
The bank gave me 30 days.
The bank has had a change of heart. New ownership, new policies. I'm here to inform you that the timeline has been accelerated.
Accelerated to what?
14 days, Mrs. McAllister. You have 14 days to pay your outstanding balance in full, or the property transfers to the bank. The words hit like a physical blow.
That ain't legal, Garrett said quietly. You can't change the terms of a foreclosure notice without proper documentation and a hearing.
Webb's smile flickered. You know something about law, Mr. Garrett?
I know something about men who use law as a weapon.
Silence stretched between them. The documentation exists, Webb said finally. The hearing has been scheduled. I'm simply extending a courtesy by informing Mrs. McAllister in person.
What courtesy? You're cutting her time in half.
I'm giving her an opportunity to prepare, to find alternative arrangements. Webb's eyes slid to Sarah. Perhaps you might consider the Children's Aid Society after all. I understand Mrs. Pemberton made you an offer. Sarah's blood went cold.
How do you know about that?
As I said, news travels. And Mrs. Pemberton and I have mutual interests. What kind of interests? Webb didn't answer, just smiled that cold, empty smile. 14 days, Mrs. McAllister. I suggest you use them wisely. He mounted his horse, tipped his hat, and rode away. The moment he was out of earshot, Garrett said, That man's dirty. I know. He's working with the railroad. Has to be. They've been buying up land all through Hill Country for the past year, any property that sits on the proposed route. This land's on the route? Must be. Otherwise, why would a judge ride out personally to deliver a foreclosure notice? That ain't normal procedure. Sarah's mind raced. James had always said the land was special. Good water, good soil, natural passage through the hills. She'd thought he meant for ranching. Maybe he'd meant more. If the railroad wants this land, they'll get it, one way or another, legal or not. Garrett's expression hardened. Unless someone stops them.
And how exactly do we do that?
I don't know yet, but I know someone who might. He paused. There's a lawyer in San Antonio. Used to work with the Rangers on land disputes. If anyone knows how to fight this, it's him.
A lawyer costs money.
He owes me, same as the dynamite man.
You got a lot of people owing you favors.
Like I said, 15 years as a ranger. Garrett turned to face her fully. Sarah, I know this ain't what you signed up for. Helping with the ranch is one thing. Taking on a corrupt judge and a railroad company is something else. If you want me to walk away, I understand. Sarah looked toward the house. Through the window, she could see William helping Lucy with her letters. Her children. Her life. Everything that mattered.
14 days, she said.
That ain't much time.
No, it ain't.
But it's something.
It is.
Sarah turned back to Garrett. Something had shifted in her expression. The desperation was still there, but underneath it now, steel.
Find your lawyer. Find out what we're dealing with. And Nate?
Yes, ma'am?
If that railroad thinks they can take my land and scatter my children, they got another thing coming.
Garrett's mouth curved into something that was almost a smile. Yes, ma'am. They certainly do. He rode out that afternoon. Sarah watched him go, trying to ignore the strange tightness in her chest. "You're worried about him," William said from beside her.
I'm worried about a lot of things.
"He'll come back." "You sure about that? Yesterday you were warning me not to trust him." William was quiet for a moment. He could have ridden off this morning. After what Judge Webb said, most men would have. Instead, he's riding to San Antonio to find help. Maybe he's just riding to San Antonio and not coming back. No, William's voice was certain. He'll come back, I can tell. How? Because of the way he looks at you. Sarah's heart skipped. William, I'm not a child, Mama. I see things. And I see how he watches you when he thinks nobody's looking. Like you're something worth protecting. William paused. Papa used to look at you that way. Sarah didn't know how to respond. So she did what she'd been doing for 8 months. She changed the subject. Come on, we got chores to do, water to haul. Work don't stop because some corrupt judge decided to make our lives harder. That night, Sarah sat alone at the kitchen table, going through James's papers for the 100th time. There had to be something, some document, some claim, some legal protection James had filed that she didn't know about. He'd been careful about paperwork, one of the few practical things about him. She found letters from the bank, receipts, a deed that looked official but probably wasn't. And then, buried at the bottom of the box, a folded paper she'd never seen before. She opened it carefully. It was a survey map. The property boundaries were marked clearly. But there was something else. A notation in James's handwriting, circled 3 times. Railroad easement rights negotiated. Payment pending. Do not sell. Sarah's hands trembled. Railroad easement rights. James had known. He'd known the land was valuable. He'd been negotiating something, some payment, some deal, before he died. But there was nothing else. No contract, no names, no indication of who he'd been dealing with or what the terms were. What did you do, James? She whispered to the empty room. What did you know? The door opened. Sarah jumped, reaching for the shotgun. Easy, ma'am. It's just me. Garrett stood in the doorway, dusty and exhausted. He'd ridden 20 miles to San Antonio and 20 miles back in a single day. You're back early. Lawyer wasn't hard to find. He closed the door behind him. But what he told me, we need to talk. What did you find out? Garrett sat down across from her, his expression grave. Judge Webb ain't just handling your foreclosure. He's handling every foreclosure in the county. Every piece of land the railroad needs, he's been finding ways to take it, legal or not. So he's corrupt. We knew that. It's worse than corrupt. He's got people working for him. Enforcers. Men who make problems disappear. Garrett paused. 3 families who tried to fight back have had accidents, barn fires, cattle poisoned. 1 man got shot by bandits on the road to Austin. Sarah's blood went cold. He's killing people? Can't prove it, but the pattern's there. And Sarah, he leaned forward. Your husband, James, he was negotiating with the railroad directly, wasn't he? Trying to get fair payment for the easement rights? I just found this. She pushed the survey map toward him. I didn't know anything about it until tonight. Garrett studied the map, his expression darkening. If James was close to a deal with the railroad, a deal that cut out Webb and his cronies, you think they killed him? The words hung in the air between them. The fever killed him, Sarah said, but her voice shook. The fever took half the town. And the other half, the ones who died, were any of them fighting the land grabs? Sarah couldn't answer, couldn't think, couldn't breathe.
James. Her James. Not just dead from fever, but—
We don't know anything for certain, Garrett said quickly. But we need to be careful. If Webb thinks you know something, thinks you have documents that could expose him, then he won't just take my land. He'll take my children. And then he'll take my life. I won't let that happen.
You can't promise that.
No, but I can promise to die trying to stop it. The intensity in his voice made Sarah look up. His eyes were burning, fierce. The eyes of a man who'd lost everything once and refused to let it happen again.
Why? She whispered. Why do you care so much? You've known us a week.
I don't know, his voice cracked. I don't understand it either. But when I think about Webb's men coming here, about your children being taken, about you being hurt— He stopped, swallowed hard. It makes me feel something I haven't felt in 2 years. It makes me feel alive. Sarah's heart was pounding. The air between them had changed, charged with something dangerous and undeniable. She stood abruptly.
It's late. You should get some rest.
We got 11 days left, and I need to figure out what James was doing before he died. Garrett stood too. For a moment, they were close. Too close. She could smell trail dust and sweat and something underneath, something warm and male and alive. Sarah,
don't. She stepped back. Whatever you're feeling, whatever we can't. Not now. Maybe not ever. I got children to protect and a home to save, and I can't afford to be distracted by—
By what?
By you. By the way you look at me. By the way my heart speeds up every time you walk into a room.
She didn't say any of it.
Just get some rest, she said instead. Tomorrow we start digging through James's papers. All of them. There's got to be something more.
All right. He moved toward the door. Stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, ma'am, I ain't trying to replace your husband. I know I can't.
I know, her voice softened. I know what you're trying to do. And I'm grateful. Truly.
But right now, grateful is all I can afford to be. Then grateful is enough. He walked out into the darkness. Sarah watched him go, her hand pressed against her chest where her heart was beating much too fast. 11 days. She had 11 days to save her home, protect her children, and figure out if her husband had been murdered. And somewhere in the middle of all that, she had to stop herself from falling for the broken cowboy who'd wandered onto her porch and refused to leave. God help her. She didn't know which task was harder. The next morning, everything changed. A wagon rolled onto the property just after dawn. Sarah heard it coming and grabbed her shotgun, but this time Garrett was already beside her, his own rifle in hand. Expecting company?
No.
The wagon got closer. Sarah's stomach dropped. She recognized that rigid posture, that severe black dress, that face she'd hoped never to see again.
Oh no.
Who is it?
Margaret McAllister, James's mother.
The wagon stopped. The woman descended like judgment itself, her eyes sweeping over the property. The dried fields, the ramshackle barn, the strange man standing beside her daughter-in-law with a rifle. Sarah, her voice was ice. It seems we have much to discuss. Margaret McAllister stood in the yard like she owned it. Maybe she thought she did. Margaret, Sarah's voice was flat. I wasn't expecting you. Clearly, Margaret's eyes cut to Garrett. Who is this man? And why is he standing on my son's property with a rifle? This is Nathaniel Garrett. He works for me. Works for you. Margaret's tone dripped contempt. James has been dead 8 months, and you've already hired a man to warm his— Careful. Garrett's voice was quiet, dangerous.
You're talking about things you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I understand that my daughter-in-law has wasted no time replacing my son with the first drifter who wandered past. Nate is helping me save this ranch.
Nothing more. Nothing more. Yet he sleeps here, eats at your table, stands beside you like he belongs. Sarah's grip tightened on the shotgun. What do you want, Margaret? I want my grandchildren. The words fell like stones. I've come to take them back to Austin, where they can be raised properly, where they won't starve in some godforsaken desert while their mother plays house with strangers. No. It wasn't a request, Sarah. I've already spoken with Judge Webb. He's prepared to grant me custody if you can't provide adequate care. Sarah's blood turned to ice. You know Webb? Cornelius is an old family friend. He's been very helpful in explaining my options. Margaret's smile was thin, triumphant. You see, I've done my research. I know about the foreclosure. I know about the drought. I know that you were ready to give my grandchildren to orphan trains before this person appeared. That's not... Mrs. Pemberton was quite informative. She told me everything. How you came to her desperate. How you signed half your name on surrender papers. How you were willing to let strangers raise James's children rather than swallow your pride and ask for help. Sarah felt the ground shifting under her feet. I didn't know you were an option. Because you never asked. Because you've always been too proud, too stubborn, too convinced you could do everything yourself. Margaret stepped closer. James warned me about you. Said you were independent to a fault. I see now he was right. James loved me. James was blinded by you. There's a difference. Garrett moved slightly, positioning himself between the two women. Ma'am, with respect, this ain't the time or place for this conversation. Why don't we all go inside, have some coffee, talk this through like civilized people? Margaret looked at him like he was dirt on her shoe. I don't take suggestions from hired help. I ain't hired help. I'm a friend of this family. You're a stranger who's been here a week. You have no standing in this matter. Maybe not legal standing, but I got standing enough to tell you that those children are happy here, loved here. Whatever problems Sarah's facing, she's facing them head on instead of running. That counts for something. It counts for nothing if they starve. They won't starve. I won't let them. Margaret's eyes narrowed. And what exactly is your interest in this family, Mr. Garrett? What do you gain from playing savior to a widow and her children? I gain a reason to wake up in the morning. That enough for you? The door opened. William and Lucy appeared, drawn by the voices. Lucy's face lit up. Grandma! She ran forward, throwing her arms around Margaret's waist. For a moment, just a moment, something softened in the older woman's face. Hello, darling. Margaret stroked Lucy's hair. I've missed you. Are you staying? Are you going to live with us? We'll see, sweetheart. We'll see. William hung back, watching with wary eyes. He'd always been more cautious around his grandmother, more aware of the tension between her and Sarah. William, Margaret's voice cooled. You've grown. Yes, ma'am. You look like your father. I know. Silence stretched between them. William didn't move closer, didn't embrace her, just stood there, a small soldier guarding his mother's flank. Children, Sarah said carefully. Why don't you go check on the chickens? Grandma and I need to talk. But, Lucy started. Now, Lucy. William took his sister's hand, led her away. But not before giving Garrett a look that said clearly, watch her. Garrett nodded once.
When the children were out of earshot, Sarah said, "You want to take them to Austin. I want to give them a proper life, education, society, opportunities they'll never have out here. They have family here, a home."
What home? A shack in the desert? A mother who can't feed them? A stranger who'll disappear the moment things get difficult? Margaret shook her head. James would be ashamed. Don't you dare. Sarah's voice cracked. Don't you dare tell me what James would think. I was his wife. I held his hand when he died. I buried him with my own hands while you were safe in Austin, doing nothing. I came as soon as I heard. You came 6 months too late. And you only came now because Webb told you there was land to claim and children to control. Margaret's face went still. What are you implying? I ain't implying nothing. I'm saying it plain. You don't want those children because you love them. You want them because they're James's. And James was the one thing in your life you actually cared about. How dare you? And maybe, Sarah stepped closer, maybe you also want this land. Webb tell you about the railroad? Tell you how much it's worth? Tell you that whoever controls the children controls the property until they're of age? Margaret's silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. You can't prove anything. Don't need to prove it. I just need to stop it. Sarah raised the shotgun slightly. Get off my land. Sarah, now! Margaret looked at the shotgun, at Garrett standing silent beside Sarah, at the determination in her daughter-in-law's eyes. This isn't over, she said quietly. Webb will have those custody papers filed by tomorrow. You'll have a hearing within a week. And when the judge sees what kind of home you're providing, a failing ranch, no money, a strange man living in your barn, he'll grant me custody without a second thought. Then I'll fight it. With what? You can't even pay your mortgage. I'll find a way. Margaret smiled that cold, thin smile. You always were stubborn. James said it was charming. I said it would be your downfall. She gathered her skirts. I'll be at the hotel in town. When you're ready to discuss this reasonably, you know where to find me. She climbed back into her wagon and drove away. Sarah watched until she disappeared over the ridge. Then her legs gave out. Garrett caught her before she hit the ground. Easy, I got you. She's going to take them. Sarah's voice was hollow. Webb, Margaret, they're working together. They're going to take my children. Not if I have anything to say about it. What can you do? You heard her. There's going to be a hearing, a judge, legal proceedings. Then we fight it legally. How? I got no money, no lawyer, no... I know a lawyer, remember? And I got money, enough to hire him proper. Garrett helped her stand. Sarah, listen to me. Webb's dirty. Margaret's connected to him. That means whatever they're planning, it ain't entirely legal. Dirty men make mistakes. They leave trails. We find the trail, we expose them. In a week? That's not enough time. It has to be enough, because giving up ain't an option. He gripped her shoulders, made her look at him. I didn't ride into your life to watch you lose everything. I came here for a reason. Maybe I didn't know what that reason was at first, but I know now. What reason? You, those kids, this family. His voice roughened. I lost my family once. I ain't losing another one, not without a fight. Sarah stared at him, at this man who'd been a stranger a week ago and now felt like something else entirely, something she was afraid to name. Why do you care so much? Because I'm falling in love with you. The words hung between them, terrifying, undeniable. Nate, I know it's too soon. I know you're still grieving. I know I got no right to feel what I feel. He released her shoulders, stepped back. But I ain't gonna lie about it. Not now. Not when we might only have a week left.
You deserve to know the truth.
Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't think. Her heart was racing, her mind spinning. I'm not asking for anything, Garrett continued, not expecting anything, just telling you where I stand so you can make decisions with all the facts. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, not yet. Focus on the fight. Focus on keeping your children. We can figure out the rest later, if there is a later. He walked away toward the barn. Sarah watched him go, her hand pressed against her chest, where her heart was beating much too fast. That night, Elena Vasquez came, Sarah's nearest neighbor, a Mexican widow who'd lost her own husband to the fever, appeared at sunset with a basket of food and news. Sarah, I heard Margaret McAllister is in town. Word travels fast. Faster than you think. She's been talking to everyone, telling them you're an unfit mother, that the children are in danger, that her son would be ashamed of what you've become. Sarah's stomach turned. She's poisoning the whole town against me. She's trying, Elena set down the basket. But not everyone believes her. Some of us remember who was here when James was sick, who stayed, who helped. She gripped Sarah's hand. You have friends, Sarah. Don't forget that. Friends can't stop a custody hearing. No, but they can testify at one. Elena's eyes glinted. If Margaret wants to paint you as unfit, she'll have to do it in front of people who know better. People who watched you nurse your husband, who saw you fight for your children when anyone else would have given up. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Elena, we stand together, mi amiga. That's how we survive. That's how we always survive. After Elena left, Sarah found Garrett in the barn, cleaning his rifle by lamplight. She's right, Sarah said. About having friends. Figured she might be. Your neighbor? Elena. Her husband died the same week as James. She's been alone ever since. She offered to help? She offered to testify, to get others to testify, to make sure the judge hears the truth about who I am. Garrett nodded slowly. That's good. Character witnesses can make a difference in custody cases. You know about custody cases? I know about a lot of things. Rangers see all kinds of disputes. He set down the rifle. But witnesses alone won't be enough. We need something concrete, something that proves Webb is corrupt and Margaret is working with him. How do we get that? We start with what your husband knew. Garrett pulled out the survey map Sarah had found. James was negotiating with the railroad. He knew this land was valuable. If he kept records, contacts, any kind of paper trail. I've been through everything. Then we go through it again, together. Fresh eyes sometimes see what familiar ones miss. They worked through the night, box after box of James's papers, spread across the kitchen table. Letters, receipts, notes scrawled on scraps of paper. Sarah explained what she knew. Garrett asked questions she hadn't thought to ask. Near midnight, Lucy wandered in, unable to sleep. Mama, what are you doing? Looking for something, sweetheart. Go back to bed. What are you looking for? Garrett looked up from a stack of letters. Treasure, little miss. Lucy's eyes widened. Real treasure? The realest kind. The kind that helps people you love. Lucy considered this. Can I help? Sarah started to say no, but Garrett said, Sure. You can help me sort these papers into piles. Big ones here, small ones there. Lucy settled in beside him, taking her task seriously. Within minutes, her small hands were moving papers with careful precision. She's a good helper, Garrett said quietly. She gets that from James. He always said there was no such thing as a job too small to do right. Smart man. He was, Sarah's voice caught.
He was the smartest man I knew.
That's what I don't understand. If he knew about the railroad, if he was negotiating a deal, why didn't he tell me? Why did he keep it secret?
Maybe he was protecting you.
From what?
From exactly this. From knowing something that could put you in danger if the wrong people found out. Sarah stared at him.
You think he knew Webb was corrupt?
I think your husband was smart enough to figure out the same things we're figuring out. And I think he was trying to play it careful. Work around the corruption instead of fighting it head on.
And then he died.
And then he died. And whatever he was working on died with him. Lucy's voice cut through.
Mama, what's this?
She was holding a small leather pouch that had been tucked inside one of the larger envelopes. Sarah took it, opened it. Inside was a letter and a key. The letter was short, in James's handwriting. Sarah, if you're reading this, something went wrong.
The key opens a safety box at the First National Bank in San Antonio.
Box 47. Everything you need is inside. Trust no one in town. Webb has eyes everywhere. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you sooner. I was trying to protect you. I love you. Always. James. Sarah's hands trembled.
He knew, she whispered. James knew about Webb. He was hiding evidence.
Garrett took the letter, read it quickly. His face hardened. Safety deposit box, San Antonio. That's where we'll find our proof.
But San Antonio is 20 miles away. How do we get there without Webb finding out?
We don't. We assume he'll know the moment we leave. Garrett looked at her. Which means we need a distraction. Something to keep his attention here while someone rides to San Antonio.
I can't leave the children. Not with Margaret in town. Not with a custody hearing coming.
I know. I'll go.
Alone?
I've ridden into worse situations.
Nate.
Someone has to get that evidence.
And someone has to stay here to protect the children. I can't do both.
Sarah's heart twisted.
What if something happens to you?
Then you'll know I died doing something that mattered. He took her hand. Sarah, I've spent 2 years wandering with no purpose. Now I got one. Let me use it. She wanted to argue, wanted to beg him to stay. But she knew he was right. The evidence was their only chance.
When do you leave?
First light. The less time Webb has to notice, the better.
Be careful.
Always am. He squeezed her hand once, then released it. Lucy had fallen asleep on a pile of papers, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. Garrett lifted her gently, carried her toward the bedroom. Sarah watched him cradle her daughter with such tenderness that something inside her broke open. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe it was impossible. Maybe she was a fool for feeling anything at all. But watching Nate Garrett carry her child like she was precious, like she mattered, Sarah realized she'd already fallen. Had been falling since the moment he knocked on her door and asked for water. God help her, she was in love with him. And in a few hours, she might lose him forever. Dawn came too fast. Sarah stood on the porch as Garrett saddled Rosie. William was beside him, helping with the straps, asking questions about the ride. You sure you know the way? Been to San Antonio 100 times, son. What if Webb's men try to stop you? Then I'll outrun them. Rosie's faster than she looks. What if they have guns? Garrett paused, looked at the boy. You worried about me? William's jaw tightened. Lucy needs you to come back. She's attached. Just Lucy? Silence. Then, quietly, Mama needs you too, even if she won't say it.
Garrett crouched down to William's level. I'm coming back, William. I give you my word.
Words don't mean much.
Mine do.
Ask anyone who knew me when I was a ranger. Nate Garrett keeps his promises. He held out his hand. Shake on it? William hesitated, then took his hand, shook once, firm. You better come back, he said, or I'll never forgive you. Understood. Sarah approached as William headed back inside. He's warming up to you. He's protecting you. That's different. Garrett tightened the last strap. I should be back by nightfall. Maybe later if there's trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind I can handle. He turned to face her. If I'm not back by tomorrow morning, take the children to Elena's. Stay there until you hear from me or my lawyer friend, Marcus Wells. He'll know what to do. Nate, I mean it, Sarah. If something goes wrong, don't try to be a hero. Just keep those kids safe. That's what matters most. She wanted to say so many things. Wanted to tell him to be careful, to hurry back, to not take any risks. Wanted to tell him what she'd realized last night while watching him hold her daughter. Instead, she said, "The key. You have the key?" He patted his chest. Right here. And the letter? In case you need to prove you have authority to open the box? Got it. He mounted Rosie. Sarah? Yes? Whatever happens today, I want you to know something. What? Meeting you was the best thing that's happened to me in 2 years. Whatever comes next, I don't regret a single moment. Before she could respond, he kicked Rosie into motion and rode away. Sarah watched until he disappeared over the ridge. Then she went inside to prepare for war. The custody hearing notice arrived at noon. A man Sarah didn't recognize delivered it, tipping his hat with false politeness. Mrs. McAllister, you are hereby summoned to appear before Judge Cornelius Webb on Friday morning at 10 o'clock to address matters of child welfare and custody. Failure to appear will result in immediate transfer of custody to the petitioner. Friday, 3 days away. Sarah read the notice twice, her hand shaking. 3 days, she said to Elena, who had come to help. That's not enough time. It's all the time we have. Elena's voice was firm. We work with what we've got. They spent the afternoon preparing. Elena rode to neighboring ranches, gathering witnesses willing to testify to Sarah's character. Sarah went through every document she could find, looking for anything else that might help. William helped. Serious, focused, refusing to be sent away. I can do this, Mama. Let me help. You shouldn't have to worry about adult things. I've been worrying about adult things since Papa died. Might as well be useful about it. By evening, they had a list of 6 witnesses willing to appear. Not much, but something. And still no word from Garrett. He'll come, Lucy said at supper. He promised William. Sarah tried to smile. I'm sure he will, sweetheart. But as darkness fell and no rider appeared on the horizon, Sarah's fear grew. What if Webb had found out? What if his men had intercepted Garrett on the road? What if he was lying somewhere hurt, or worse? She couldn't think about it, couldn't let herself imagine. At midnight, she finally heard hoofbeats. Sarah grabbed the shotgun, ran outside. Her heart was pounding, her breath coming fast. A rider emerged from the darkness. Garrett, covered in dust, exhausted, but alive. Nate! She ran to him without thinking, threw her arms around him as he dismounted. Thank God! Thank God! He held her tightly. I'm all right. I'm all right. You're late. You said nightfall. Got delayed. Webb's men were watching the road. Had to take the long way. She pulled back, searched his face. Did you get it? The evidence? He reached into his saddlebag, pulled out a thick envelope. I got it. They went inside. Garrett spread the documents on the table. Your husband was thorough, he said.
Letters, contracts, witness statements. He'd been building a case against Webb for months, documenting every illegal land seizure, every bribe, every threat. Sarah stared at the papers. James was investigating Webb? More than that. He was working with the railroad's main office in Chicago. They suspected Webb was skimming money, inflating land prices, keeping the difference. James was their inside source. Why didn't he tell me? There's a letter here, addressed to you, dated a week before he died. Garrett handed it over gently. I didn't read it. Figured that was private. Sarah's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, I've failed. Failed to protect you, to be there when you needed me. I hope you can forgive me. Webb is dangerous, more dangerous than you know. He's killed people who got in his way. I suspect I'll be next. I've hidden everything in the San Antonio bank because I don't trust anyone in town. Webb has spies everywhere. If something happens to me, take this evidence to Marcus Wells in San Antonio. He's honest. He'll know what to do. Don't try to fight Webb alone. Don't trust anyone who claims to be on your side. Just get our children somewhere safe and let the law handle the rest. I should have told you all this. Should have trusted you with the truth. But I was trying to protect you the only way I knew how. I love you, Sarah. I love William and Lucy more than life itself. Whatever happens, please know that everything I did for you. Yours always, James. Sarah read it twice, 3 times, tears streaming down her face. He knew, she whispered. He knew he was going to die. He suspected. That's different. Is it? She looked up, eyes blazing. Webb killed my husband. Maybe not directly, but he's responsible. And now he's trying to take my children, too. We won't let him. How? Even with this evidence, Webb is the judge. He controls the hearing. He decides who wins. Then we take it over his head. Garrett gathered the papers. These documents prove Webb is corrupt. They prove he's been working with a ring of land grabbers for years. If we get this to the federal marshal in Austin, Webb loses everything. His position, his freedom, maybe his life. Can we do that in 3 days? We can try. I'll ride to Austin tomorrow. Get there by evening, find the marshal, explain everything. That's a lot of riding. Rosie can handle it. Question is, can you handle being here alone? Sarah's jaw tightened. I've been alone for 8 months. I can handle 3 more days. Not alone. You've got William and Lucy. You've got Elena and your neighbors. He paused. And you've got my promise that I'm coming back. You keep making promises. I keep keeping them. She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe. Go get some sleep, she said. You've got a long ride tomorrow. What about you? I'll sleep when this is over. He moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. Sarah? Yes? That letter James wrote. The part about protecting you the only way he knew how. Garrett's voice was soft. I understand that now. Better than I ever thought I would. What do you mean? I mean there's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you safe. You and those children. Nothing. Before she could respond, he was gone. Sarah sat alone with James's letter, reading his words over and over, feeling the weight of 2 men's love pressing down on her heart. One dead, one still fighting, and somewhere between them, she had to find the strength to survive. 3 days. She had 3 days to save everything that mattered. God help her. It had to be enough. Garrett left before sunrise. Sarah stood on the porch, watching him ride into the darkness, the envelope of evidence tucked inside his shirt. He'd kissed her forehead before mounting, a brief, tender gesture,
that said everything words couldn't. "I'll be back," he'd promised. "Before the hearing. I swear it." Now she was alone again. Alone with her children, her fears, and the weight of James's final letter burning against her heart. "Mama?" William appeared in the doorway, fully dressed despite the early hour. "You should be sleeping." Couldn't. He moved to stand beside her. "He's really going to Austin?" "He's going to try to stop Webb, expose him before the hearing." "What if he doesn't make it in time?" Sarah had been asking herself the same question all night. "Then we fight anyway, with whatever we have." "What do we have?" "Each other, Elena and the neighbors, the truth." She put her arm around her son. "That has to be enough." William leaned into her. For a moment, he wasn't a 10-year-old trying to be a man. He was just a boy who needed his mother. "I'm scared, Mama." "Me too, baby. Me too." The first day passed in a blur of preparation. Elena came early with more news. Margaret had hired a lawyer from San Antonio, a man named Harwell, who specialized in custody cases. He'd arrived the night before and was already meeting with Judge Webb. "They're building a case," Elena said, "documenting everything they can use against you." "Like what?" "The foreclosure, the orphan train papers you almost signed, the fact that Nate's been living in your barn." Elena's expression was grim. "They're going to paint you as desperate, unstable, and morally compromised." "I'm none of those things." "Doesn't matter what you are. Matters what they can make people believe." Sarah's hands clenched. "So what do I do?" "You prepare. Get your witnesses ready. Practice what you're going to say." Elena gripped her shoulder. "And pray that your cowboy makes it back in time." That afternoon, Sarah visited every neighbor who'd agreed to testify. Tom Brennan, who'd helped dig James's grave.
Mary Sullivan, who'd brought food when the children were sick. Old Abraham, the former slave who'd become a preacher and knew everyone's character better than they knew themselves. Each one confirmed they'd appear Friday morning. Each one expressed doubt it would be enough. "Webb's got power," Tom said bluntly. "Money. Connections. What do we got? Just our word. Sometimes the word of honest people is enough. In a fair world, maybe. This ain't a fair world, Sarah. You know that better than anyone." She did know, but she couldn't afford to believe it. That night, Margaret came to the ranch. Sarah heard the wagon approaching and grabbed the shotgun. But when she saw who it was, she lowered it slightly. Not entirely. "What do you want?" Margaret descended slowly, her face unreadable in the lamplight. "To talk. Just talk. We got nothing to say to each other. We have grandchildren to discuss." Margaret's voice was different tonight. Softer. Almost tired. "May I come in?" Sarah's instincts screamed no. But something in Margaret's posture, a slight slump, a weariness, made her hesitate. 5 minutes. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Sarah had almost signed away her children, the same table where she'd discovered James's secrets. "I know what you think of me," Margaret began. "You think I'm cold, controlling, that I never approved of you and James." "You didn't." "No, I didn't." Margaret's hands folded in her lap. "James was my only child. When he told me he was marrying a hotel clerk's daughter and moving to Texas, I thought he was throwing his life away. I thought you'd ruined him. Did I?" "I don't know anymore." Margaret looked around the small kitchen. James loved this place. Loved the idea of building something with his own hands. I never understood that. My husband, James's father, built his empire with money and connections. I thought that was the only way. What changed?
I watched you.
Margaret's eyes met Sarah's. These past few days, I've been watching you fight for your children with nothing but stubbornness and desperation. The way James used to fight. The same fire. Sarah didn't know what to say. I still think those children would be better off in Austin, Margaret continued. Better schools, better opportunities, a grandmother who can provide for them. But maybe I was wrong about you. Wrong about what kind of mother you are. Margaret's voice cracked slightly. James chose you. He loved you. And my grandson, William, he looks at you like you hung the moon. That means something. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Are you saying you'll drop the custody case? I'm saying, Margaret hesitated. I'm saying I don't know what I want anymore. When I arrived, everything was clear. Take the children. Save them from poverty and neglect. Do what James would have wanted. James wanted them with me. I know. I read his letters, the ones he sent me before he died. He talked about you constantly, how strong you were, how capable. Margaret's composure cracked. He said you were the best thing that ever happened to him, better than all his dreams of Texas and ranching and freedom. Sarah's tears fell now. She couldn't stop them. Then why are you doing this? Why are you working with Webb to take them? Because I was angry. The admission came out raw, honest. Angry that James died. Angry that you survived when he didn't. Angry that his children are growing up in this desert while I'm alone in a big empty house with nothing but memories. So this is about punishing me? It was, maybe. Margaret's hands trembled. But seeing you now, seeing how you fight, I don't know anymore. I don't know what's right. Then call off the hearing. I can't. Webb's already filed the papers. The case is proceeding whether I want it to or not. Sarah stiffened. What do you mean you can't? I mean, Webb has his own interests in this. The land, the railroad money. Even if I withdraw my petition, he'll find another way. What way? Margaret was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. He's got men. Dangerous men. They've been watching your property. Watching the cowboy who's been helping you. She looked at Sarah directly. If you don't lose the children legally, Webb will take them another way. And anyone who stands in his path. The words trailed off, but the meaning was clear. Sarah's blood went cold. You're warning me. I'm telling you the truth. Something I should have done from the beginning. Margaret stood. Fight your case if you want. Maybe you'll win. But even if you do, Webb won't stop. He never stops. Then what do I do? I don't know. Run, maybe. Take the children and disappear. This is my home. James's home. I won't run. Then prepare for war. Because that's what's coming. Margaret moved toward the door. Stopped. Sarah. What? James was right about you. You are the best thing that happened to him. I was just too proud to see it. She walked out into the darkness. A moment later, the wagon rolled away. Sarah sat alone, shaking, processing everything she'd heard. Webb wasn't just corrupt. He was dangerous. Deadly. And Nate was riding toward Austin, unaware of how much worse things had become. Day 2 brought rain. A rare summer storm swept through, turning the dry ground to mud and filling the new well to overflowing. Sarah should have been grateful. Instead, she paced the house, watching the horizon for a rider who didn't appear. He'll come, Lucy said, sensing her mother's anxiety. He promised. I know, sweetheart. Promises are important. That's what Papa used to say. Yes, they are. William was quieter than usual. He'd heard the conversation with Margaret the night before. Sarah had found him listening at the door afterward. They hadn't talked about it, but the knowledge sat between them like a stone. "Mama," he said finally, "if Webb's got men watching us, what do we do?" "We stay alert. We don't go anywhere alone. And we pray Nate gets back before they make a move." "And if they make a move before he gets back?" Sarah touched the shotgun leaning against the wall. "Then we defend ourselves." "Can you shoot someone, if you had to?" She thought about her children, about James dying while she held his hand, about everything she'd already lost and everything she still stood to lose. "If someone threatens my family, I can do whatever's necessary." William nodded slowly. "Good, because I think they're coming." "What do you mean?" "I saw riders this morning, 3 of them, on the ridge east of the property. Just watching." Sarah's heart stopped. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I wasn't sure. They could have been anyone. But they were still there an hour later. Same spot. Same 3 riders." Sarah moved to the window. The rain made it hard to see far, but she scanned the ridgelines anyway. "Get your sister. Both of you stay inside. Don't go near the windows." "Mama!" "Now, William." He obeyed. Sarah grabbed the shotgun, checked that it was loaded, and took up position by the door. They waited. The riders didn't come that day, but they didn't leave either. Sarah caught glimpses of them throughout the afternoon, shadowy figures on horseback, watching, waiting. By nightfall, she was exhausted and terrified. Where was Nate? Had he made it to Austin? Was he on his way back? Or had Webb's men found him first? She couldn't think about that. Couldn't let fear paralyze her. "Bedtime," she told the children, keeping her voice steady. "I'll keep watch tonight." "Will you be okay?" Lucy asked. "I'll be fine, baby. Mr. Garrett will be back soon." "What if he's not?" Sarah crouched down, took her daughter's face in her hands. "Then we'll figure something else out. That's what we do. We adapt. We survive, no matter what." Lucy nodded, trying to be brave. Sarah kissed her forehead and sent her to bed. Midnight came and went. Sarah dozed in the chair by the door, the shotgun across her lap. Every sound jerked her awake. Wind against the windows, a coyote's distant cry, the creak of settling wood. Then she heard hoofbeats. She was on her feet instantly, heart pounding. Through the window she saw a single rider approaching, coming fast. Nate? She ran outside, not caring about the risk. If it was him, she needed to know. If it wasn't, the rider burst into the yard. She raised the shotgun. "Easy! Sarah, it's me!" Nate's voice. Nate's face, barely visible in the moonlight. Sarah nearly collapsed with relief. "Thank God! Thank God!" He dismounted, caught her as she threw herself into his arms. She was trembling. Couldn't stop. Hey, I'm here. I'm okay. I thought..." "Webb's men are watching the property. I thought they'd gotten to you. Saw them on the way in. Gave them the slip through Johnson's Creek." He pulled back, looked at her face. "You're shaking." "I've been shaking for 2 days." She gripped his shirt. "Did you find the marshal?" "I found him." "And?" Nate's expression was hard to read in the darkness. "Let's go inside. We need to talk." They sat at the kitchen table, voices low to avoid waking the children. "The marshal's name is Thomas Flynn," Nate said. "Good man. Honest." He looked at the evidence and agreed. Webb's been running a criminal operation for years. "So he'll help?" "He's already moving. Sent riders to gather federal deputies. They're going to arrest Webb at the courthouse Friday morning, right before the hearing starts." Sarah's heart soared. "That's it then. It's over." "Not quite." Nate's jaw tightened.
Flynn also told me something else. Something that changes things.
What? Webb knows I went to Austin. One of his men must have followed me, reported back. He knows the marshals are coming.
Sarah's stomach dropped. Then he'll run. Or he'll accelerate his plans. Try to get what he wants before the law catches up. Nate leaned forward. Sarah, I don't think he's going to wait for the hearing. I think he's going to make a move tonight or tomorrow. Try to take the children before the marshals arrive. The riders William saw, probably his men, watching, waiting for orders. Sarah's fear crystallized into cold determination. Then we prepare. How? We gather everyone we trust, bring them here, make this place a fortress. She stood, started pacing. Elena, Tom Brennan, old Abraham, anyone who can hold a gun and isn't afraid to use it. Sarah, this is my home, Nate, my children. I'm done running, done being afraid. She turned to face him. Webb wants a fight. He's got one. Nate studied her for a long moment.
Something in his expression shifted. Pride, maybe. Or love. All right. We fight. He stood. I'll ride to the neighbors, gather who I can. You stay here. Keep the children safe.
You just got back. You're exhausted.
Doesn't matter. We don't have time for rest.
Nate.
I'll be fine. He moved to the door, stopped. Sarah, there's something I need to say, before everything happens.
What?
These past 2 weeks, they've been the best of my life, since Charlotte and Annie. Maybe the best ever. His voice roughened. Whatever happens tomorrow, I need you to know that. I need you to know you gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever.
What's that?
A reason to live. He was gone before she could respond. Sarah stood in the empty doorway, tears streaming down her face, watching him ride into the darkness once more. Dawn brought allies. Tom Brennan arrived first, with his 2 grown sons and a wagon full of rifles. Elena came next, with 3 vaqueros from her husband's old ranch, hard-faced men who didn't ask questions. Old Abraham appeared with nothing but a Bible and a pistol, saying, "The Lord helps those who help themselves." By sunrise, 12 people stood in Sarah's yard, armed and ready. Nate outlined the situation briefly. Webb's men were out there. They might attack before the hearing, might wait until after. Either way, everyone needed to be prepared. "What's the plan?" Tom asked. "We defend this property until the marshals arrive. They should be here by mid-morning, maybe earlier." "And if Webb's men attack before then?" "Then we hold them off, however long it takes." Elena's vaqueros took positions around the perimeter. Tom and his sons covered the approaches from the east. Abraham stood on the porch, Bible in one hand, pistol in the other, looking like an angel of righteous fury. Sarah kept the children inside. William wanted to help, wanted to hold a rifle, but she refused. "Your job is to protect Lucy. If anything goes wrong, you take her out the back, through the creek bed, straight to town. Don't stop, don't look back." "But Mama—" "Promise me, William." He looked at her with those 2 old eyes. "I promise." "Good." She kissed his forehead. "I love you, both of you, more than anything in this world." "We know, Mama," Lucy said quietly. "We love you too." The morning crept by. Sarah watched from the window, her shotgun ready. Nate paced between positions, checking on their defenders, murmuring encouragement. Everyone was tense, waiting. Then, around 10 o'clock, riders appeared on the eastern ridge. "Here they come," Tom called out. Sarah counted. 6. No, 8. 10 riders emerging from the tree line in the loose formation. "Hold your positions," Nate ordered. "Don't fire until they do." The riders approached slowly, spreading out to surround the property. At their head was a man Sarah recognized, one of Webb's deputies, a mean-eyed brute named Carter. "Mrs. McAllister," Carter's voice carried across the distance, "Judge Webb requests your presence at an emergency hearing. You're to bring the children and come with us immediately." "There ain't no emergency hearing," Nate shouted back, "and she ain't going anywhere." "This don't concern you, stranger." "Everything about this family concerns me." Carter's lips curled. "Then you can come too. In chains." "Try it." Silence stretched taut as a bowstring. "Mrs. McAllister," Carter called again, "don't make this harder than it needs to be. Come peaceful, and nobody gets hurt." "And if I don't?" Carter shrugged. "Then we take what we came for anyway." Sarah looked at Nate. He nodded once. She raised the shotgun. "These are my children. My home. You want them? Come and take them." Carter smiled. It was an ugly expression. "Have it your way." He raised his hand, a signal. His men reached for their weapons. The first shot came from Abraham. It caught one of the riders in the shoulder, spinning him from his horse. Everything erupted at once. Gunfire exploded across the property. Sarah dropped behind the window frame as bullets splintered the wall above her head. She could hear shouting, horses screaming, the crack of rifles from every direction. "Stay down!" she screamed at the children. "Stay down!" William had thrown himself over Lucy, shielding her with his body. Both of them were crying. Sarah raised the shotgun, fired at a rider trying to approach the house. The blast hit him in the chest. He fell. She just killed a man. No time to think about it. Reload. Watch for threats. Protect her children. The battle raged for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Sarah lost track of everything except the immediate. Reload. Aim. Fire. Duck. Repeat. Then she heard Nate's voice, cutting through the chaos. "They're pulling back." She risked a glance outside. The riders were retreating, dragging their wounded, leaving bodies behind. Tom's sons were cheering. Elena's vaqueros were reloading, grim-faced but triumphant. They'd won the first round. But Carter hadn't retreated with the others. He was still there, on the edge of the property, watching. "This ain't over, Mrs. McAllister," he shouted. "Webb always gets what he wants. Always." He wheeled his horse and disappeared over the ridge. Sarah slumped against the wall, shaking. Her hands were covered in gunpowder residue. Her ears rang. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst. "Mama?" William's voice, scared but controlled. "I'm okay, baby. We're okay." But even as she said it, she knew Carter was right. This wasn't over. Not even close. The marshals arrived 2 hours later. A dozen men in dark coats, led by Thomas Flynn himself. They surveyed the aftermath, the bodies, the bullet holes, the shell-shocked defenders, with grim professionalism. "Mrs. McAllister," Flynn tipped his hat. "Looks like we're a bit late. Webb's men attacked this morning. We held them off." "I can see that." Flynn's expression was sympathetic but businesslike. "I've got warrants for Webb's arrest, along with half a dozen of his deputies. We're heading to town now. I'd like you to come with us." "Why?" "Because when we arrest that corrupt bastard, I want him to see the woman he tried to destroy standing right there, watching." Sarah looked at Nate. He nodded. "Let me get my children." They rode into town as a procession, marshals at the front, Sarah and her children in a wagon, Nate riding beside them, neighbors following behind. By the time they reached the courthouse, word had spread. Townspeople lined the streets, watching with a mixture of fear and hope.
They'd lived under Webb's shadow for years.
Now that shadow was finally lifting. Flynn dismounted in front of the courthouse doors. "Stay here. This won't take long." He led his men inside. Sarah waited, holding Lucy's hand, feeling William pressed against her side. Minutes passed. 10. 15. Then the courthouse doors burst open. 2 marshals emerged, dragging Webb between them. The judge's face was twisted with fury. He was shouting, protesting, but his words were drowned out by the growing murmur of the crowd. "Cornelius Webb!" Flynn's voice carried over everything. "You are under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, extortion, and accessory to murder. You have the right to trial, which will be conducted by an actual judge in Austin." Webb's eyes found Sarah in the crowd. The hatred in them was pure, venomous. "You think this is over?" he spat. "You think you've won? I have friends, powerful friends. This is just the beginning." "No," Sarah said quietly. But somehow, in the hush that had fallen, everyone heard her. "This is the end of you, of everything you built on other people's suffering." Webb lunged toward her, but the marshals held him fast. "Your husband should have minded his own business. He'd still be alive if he had." The crowd gasped. Sarah went cold. "What did you say?" Webb smiled, an ugly, triumphant smile. "You think that fever killed him? Think again, Mrs. McAllister. Some fevers need a little help to become fatal." Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't think. James hadn't just died. He'd been murdered. "Get him out of here," Flynn ordered. "Now!" The marshals dragged Webb away. The crowd erupted in noise, questions, exclamations, chaos. But Sarah stood frozen, the truth crashing over her like a wave. Her husband had been murdered. Webb had admitted it. Right there, in front of everyone. And now, finally, there would be justice. Nate's arms wrapped around her. She leaned into him, trembling. "It's over," he whispered. "It's really over. He killed James." "I know, and he'll pay for it. I promise you, he'll pay." Sarah looked up at him. This man who'd appeared from nowhere and saved everything. This broken cowboy who'd given her hope when she had none. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" Nate smiled. Just slightly, just enough. "Now we figure out the rest. Together." Lucy tugged at Sarah's dress. "Mama, does this mean we get to stay?" Sarah knelt down, pulled both children close. "Yes, baby, we get to stay. All of us. Together." William's voice was muffled against her shoulder. "And Mr. Garrett?" Sarah looked up at Nate, who was watching them with an expression she'd come to recognize. Love. Pure and simple and undeniable. "Him too," she said softly. "If he wants to." "I want to," Nate said. "More than anything I've ever wanted in my life." Lucy cheered. William almost smiled. And Sarah, for the first time in 8 long months, felt the crushing weight of fear finally lift from her shoulders. They were safe. They were together. And somehow, impossibly, they were whole again. The weeks that followed Webb's arrest moved like water finding its natural course. Sarah watched her world transform, piece by piece. The railroad company sent representatives from Chicago, apologizing for Webb's corruption and offering fair payment for the easement rights James had been negotiating. The money was more than enough to pay off the bank, repair the ranch, and secure their future. But money wasn't what healed them. People did that. Elena came every day, helping Sarah rebuild what the gunfight had damaged. Tom Brennan and his sons fixed the bullet holes in the walls. Old Abraham held a service on the property, blessing the ground where they'd fought for their family. And Nate stayed. He didn't ask permission anymore, didn't offer excuses for why he was still there. He just worked beside her, ate at her table, and watched her children like they were his own. 3 weeks after Webb's arrest, Margaret returned. Sarah saw the wagon approaching and felt her defenses rise. But something was different this time. Margaret moved slowly, hesitantly, like someone approaching unfamiliar territory. "May I speak with you?" Margaret's voice held none of its former ice. "Depends on what you want to say." "I want to apologize." Sarah stared at her. "You want to what?" "I was wrong. About everything." Margaret's composure cracked. "Webb used me. Used my grief, my anger, my need to control something after losing James. I let him manipulate me into hurting the one person my son loved most." "That don't fix what you did." "No, it doesn't." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I came to ask if you can ever forgive me. Not now, maybe not for years, but someday." Sarah thought about James, about how he'd loved his mother despite her coldness, about how he'd always hoped they could be a real family. "James would want me to forgive you," she said finally. "I know. He was always more generous than I deserved." "He was." Sarah's voice softened slightly. "I can't forget what you did. Can't pretend it didn't happen. But maybe we can start over. Small steps." Margaret nodded, wiping her eyes. "Small steps. I can do that." "The children missed you, Lucy especially. She don't understand why her grandmother tried to take her away." "May I see them?" "If you can look them in the eyes and explain what you did, you can see them." Margaret flinched, but she straightened her spine. "I'll try." Sarah led her inside. William looked up from the table where he was practicing his letters. His expression hardened. "She's here to apologize," Sarah said quietly. "Give her a chance." "She tried to take us away." "I know, but people make mistakes, even grandmothers." Margaret knelt beside William, her fine dress pressing into the dirt floor without complaint. "William, I was wrong. I told myself I was trying to help you, but really I was trying to fill the hole your father left." Her voice trembled. "That wasn't fair to you, or your sister, or your mother. I'm sorry." William studied her with those two old eyes. "You worked with the man who killed Papa." "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what Webb had done." "Would it have mattered?" The question hung in the air. Margaret's face crumpled. "I want to say yes. I want to believe I would have stopped if I'd known. But the truth is, I was so blinded by grief and anger that I might not have cared." She took his hands. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking for a chance to do better." William looked at his mother. Sarah nodded slightly. "Okay," he said slowly. "But I'm watching you." "That's fair." Lucy appeared from the bedroom, clutching her cornhusk doll. "Grandma?" "Hello, sweetheart." "Are you still mad at Mama?" "No, baby. I'm not mad at anyone anymore." Lucy considered this. Then she walked over and hugged Margaret's waist. "Good, because Mama's been sad, and Mr. Garrett says sad people need hugs, and you looked sad too." Margaret's tears fell freely now. She held her granddaughter close, meeting Sarah's eyes over Lucy's head. "Thank you," her expression said. Sarah nodded once. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. That evening, Nate found Sarah on the porch. "Saw Margaret leave. Looked like she'd been crying." "She apologized. Actually apologized." "You believe her?" "I think I do.
doesn't mean I trust her yet. Trust takes time. Nate sat beside her, close, but not touching. Sarah, there's something I need to talk to you about. Her heart skipped. What? I've been staying here going on a month now, working your land, eating at your table, watching your children grow. He paused. People are starting to talk. People always talk. They're saying I'm compromising your reputation.
That a widow with a man living on her property ain't proper. Sarah felt a flash of anger.
Since when do you care what people say?
I don't, but I care about you, and I care about those children. If my presence is causing them harm, it's not. Sarah's voice was fierce. You being here is the best thing that's happened to us since James died. The children adore you. She stopped. Couldn't finish. You what? Nate's voice was gentle.
I can't say it. Not yet.
Then I'll say it for both of us. He took her hand. I love you, Sarah. I've loved you since the day I knocked on your door asking for water. And I'll keep loving you, whether you say it back or not.
Nate,
let me finish. I know James hasn't been gone long. I know you're still grieving. I know there's a part of you that feels guilty for even thinking about another man. He squeezed her hand. But I also know that life don't wait for perfect timing. Sometimes you have to grab happiness when it shows up, even if the timing's wrong. Sarah's eyes burned. What are you asking? I'm asking if you'll marry me. The words fell like stones into still water. I know it's soon. I know people will judge. But I don't care about soon, or proper, or what anyone thinks. I care about you and those children. I want to spend the rest of my life making sure you're all safe and happy. His voice cracked. I already lost one family. I can't lose another. Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't think. Her heart was racing, her mind spinning. She thought about James, about the promise she'd made him, about the love they'd shared and the life they'd built. But she also thought about the future, about William needing a father, about Lucy calling Nate our cowboy, like he belonged to them, about waking up every morning knowing someone was there, someone strong and good and unshakable. I need time, she whispered. Take all the time you need. And I need to tell the children first. Ask how they feel. Of course. And I need... She stopped, took a breath. I need to visit James's grave. Talk to him. I know that sounds crazy. It doesn't sound crazy at all. Sarah looked at this man who'd appeared from nowhere and changed everything. This broken cowboy who'd given her hope when she'd had none. I'm not saying no, she said carefully. I'm saying wait. Can you do that? I've been waiting my whole life for something worth having. A little longer won't hurt. The next morning, Sarah rode to James's grave alone. It was on a small hill behind the property, marked by a wooden cross William had helped her carve. The ground was dry now, baked hard by the summer sun, but someone had placed fresh wildflowers at the base. Elena, probably, or maybe Nate. Sarah knelt beside the grave, pressing her hand against the warm earth. Hey, James, it's me. The wind whispered through the grass. Nothing else answered. I don't know if you can hear me. Don't know if there's anything left of you that knows I'm here, but I need to talk to you anyway. She took a breath. Webb's gone. In prison, waiting for trial. He confessed to having you killed. Did you know, James? Did you know they were coming for you? Is that why you hid those papers? The wind didn't answer. The ranch is saved. The railroad paid fair money for the easement rights, just like you wanted. The children are safe. William's growing up so fast. He's got your stubbornness and my temper. Lucy still talks about you. Still sleeps with that corn husk doll you made her. Tears slipped down her cheeks.
And there's someone else now. A man. Nate. He found us in the drought, helped us when no one else would. He loves me, James. Loves our children. He asked me to marry him.
The words hung in the air.
I know it's soon. I know you've only been gone 9 months.
I know people will say I'm moving too fast, forgetting you, dishonoring your memory, her voice broke. But I'm not forgetting you. I could never forget you. You're in every breath our children take, every inch of this land, every piece of who I've become. She wiped her eyes. I loved you, James. I still love you. But loving you doesn't mean I have to stop living. Doesn't mean I have to raise our children alone when someone good and kind wants to help. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of sage and dust. I think you'd like him. He's honest, hard-working, gentle with the children. He lost his own family, and he's been carrying that grief the same way I carry mine. We understand each other. Sarah pressed her palm harder against the earth. I'm asking for your blessing, James. Not your permission. You don't get to give that anymore. But your blessing. Some sign that it's okay to move forward, to let someone else love me. She waited. The wind died down. The world went still. Then, from somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark sang. James had loved meadowlarks. Used to say their song was God's way of telling people everything would be all right. Sarah smiled through her tears. Thank you, she whispered. I knew you'd understand. She rode home with a lightness she hadn't felt in months. Nate was waiting on the porch when she returned. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes showed everything: hope, fear, love. You talked to him? I talked to him. What did he say? Sarah dismounted slowly, walked to the porch, stood in front of this man who'd saved her life in more ways than one. He said yes. Nate's breath caught. You mean? I mean yes. I'll marry you. I'll be your wife. I'll let you be a father to my children. Her voice cracked. I'll let myself love you, Nate Garrett. Properly. Completely. Without guilt. He pulled her into his arms. The kiss was nothing like her first kiss with James, young, fumbling, full of nervous laughter. This was something else. Something forged in fire and loss and the desperate hope of two people who'd found each other against impossible odds. Mama! They broke apart. William and Lucy stood in the doorway, eyes wide. Are you kissing Mr. Garrett? Lucy's voice was scandalized and delighted. Sarah laughed, a real laugh, full and free. Yes, baby, I am. Does that mean you're getting married? If that's okay with you two. Lucy shrieked and launched herself at Nate, who caught her with practiced ease. William hung back, watching. Sarah went to her son, crouched down to his level. This doesn't change how much I loved your father. Doesn't erase him. He'll always be your papa. Always be part of this family. I know. William's voice was quiet. I need to be sure. Sure of what? That he won't leave. That he won't get sick and die like Papa did. That he won't disappear and leave us alone again. Sarah's heart twisted. Oh, baby, I can't promise that. Nobody can promise that. Life don't come with guarantees. Then how do you know it's worth the risk? Sarah looked at Nate, who was spinning Lucy around while she giggled. Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is being so scared of losing people that you never let yourself love them. And that's no way to live. William considered this. His two old eyes studied Nate with the intensity of a judge weighing evidence. He makes you happy, he said finally. He does. Papa would want you to be happy. I think so too. William nodded slowly. Then he walked to Nate, who set Lucy down and waited. Mr. Garrett. William,
If you're going to marry my mother, I need to know something.
Ask me anything.
If bad men come again, like Webb's men did, will you fight for us?
With everything I have. If times get hard, and there's no money, and we're hungry again, will you stay? Through anything. If I make a mistake, or do something wrong, will you still be my pa? Nate's expression softened. He crouched down to William's level, meeting him eye to eye. William, let me tell you something about being a father. It ain't about blood, or names, or legal papers. It's about showing up, every day. When things are good, and when they're bad. When the person you love makes you proud, and when they make you crazy. Being a father means choosing someone as your family, and then proving that choice with your actions, over and over, until the day you die. He put his hand on William's shoulder. I choose you. You and Lucy and your mama. Not because I have to, because I want to. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving that choice, if you'll let me. William stared at him for a long moment. Then he did something Sarah hadn't seen since before James died. He hugged Nate, really hugged him, arms tight around his neck, face buried against his shoulder.
Okay,
William whispered.
You can be my pa.
Nate held him close, his own eyes wet. Thank you, son. I'll do my best to deserve it. They got married on a Sunday in late summer. Elena hosted the ceremony in her garden. Old Abraham officiated. Tom Brennan and his son stood witness. Even Margaret came, sitting quietly in the back, crying into a handkerchief. Sarah wore a simple dress, white with blue flowers. Nate wore his cleanest shirt and a nervous smile. William and Lucy stood beside them, holding hands. When Abraham asked if anyone objected, the crowd was silent. When he pronounced them husband and wife, the crowd erupted in cheers. But the moment Sarah would remember forever came later, after the celebration, after the food and dancing and well wishes. They stood outside their home now, together, watching the sun set over the Texas hills. William had finally gone to bed. Lucy was asleep in Sarah's arms, worn out from excitement.
Mrs. Garrett,
Nate said softly, testing the name.
Mr. Garrett,
Sarah replied, smiling.
Has a nice ring to it.
It does. She leaned against him, feeling his strength, his warmth.
Nate?
Yeah?
Thank you.
For what?
For knocking on my door. For not riding past. For staying when any sane person would have run.
Her voice cracked.
For giving my children a father. For giving me a reason to believe in second chances.
You gave me the same thing. His arm tightened around her. I was dead inside when I found you, Sarah. Just going through the motions. You brought me back to life. Lucy stirred in Sarah's arms, murmured something unintelligible, and settled again.
What do we do now?
Sarah asked. Now we live. We raise these children. We work this land. We build something that lasts.
That simple?
That simple and that hard. But we do it together. That's the difference. Sarah looked at the horizon, where the last light was fading into purple dusk. A year ago, she'd been a happy wife with a living husband and dreams of the future. 9 months ago, she'd been a desperate widow planning to give away her children. 3 weeks ago, she'd been fighting for her life against corrupt men who wanted to destroy her family. Now she was here, married, safe, whole. Not the same woman she'd been, never the same, but not worse either, just different, tempered by fire, strengthened by loss, made new by love. Hey, Nate said.
What?
I love you. 3 words, simple and devastating and true.
I love you too,
Sarah replied, and meant it, fully,
completely, without reservation. Lucy mumbled again, and this time Sarah caught the words, "Love you, Pa." Nate went still. His eyes glistened. Did she just... She did. She called me Pa. She did. Nate pressed his face against the top of Lucy's head, hiding tears he'd never admit to.
"I'm home," he whispered. "I'm finally home."
Sarah held her daughter close, leaned into her husband's embrace, and let herself believe, for the first time in 9 long months, that everything really would be all right. The drought had broken, the storm had passed, and somewhere in the middle of all that suffering, she'd found something she'd stopped believing in. Not a fairy tale, not a perfect ending, just life. Real life, with all its pain and joy and impossible surprises. And that, Sarah realized, was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.